hide the ball on what their intention is as to why they're passing it. This is a law that, if implemented, will restrict the ability of the media to report on and report on government abuses or government overreach, and that's exactly what the Commerce Minister said in the Dhaka Tribune yesterday. Commerce Minister Tofil Ahmed, quote, "Various media reports often turn out to be humiliating for the MPs. Their images are tarnished, so this act has been formulated to prevent these media reports." They don't want the media coverage. They don't want the attention. They don't want to be covered in a way that they feel is fake news. So under existing laws, human rights defenders and journalists are subject to prison terms for publishing any material that they feel is false or inaccurate under the old Information and Communications Technology Act. In addition to this, there's a couple other prominent trends taking place in Bangladesh right now. One is the violence perpetrated by violent extremists, third-party non-state actors. These are people who have targeted secular bloggers, LGBT activists, media figures, religious minorities in particular. In 2016, there were at least 32 such murders, and despite their kind of their horrific details, the government has failed to take sufficient response to investigate the people who perpetrated them. Instead, the government has often used the crime to crack down on people who it deems to be potential critics. Over 6 days in 2016, after a terrible spate of killings, the government rounded up 11,000 people who it deemed to be, who it claimed were related to the killings in some way, but without any individualized accusations of their connections to the murder. The other trend, or not trend, but practice that's taking place now in Bangladesh is the use of the International Criminal Tribunal. This is a domestic court that is tasked with investigating and prosecuting crimes that took place during Bangladesh's terrible 1971 liberation war, in which I believe nearly 3 million Bangladeshis were killed. There was a terrible act of genocide, and the court is charged with prosecuting the perpetrators of that. The court, though, is riddled with procedural and substantive failures of due process, such that there's no confidence by international actors that the people who are in the dock are having a fair or credible experience of prosecution, despite outcries from international NGOs, foreign governments. The death sentences have been carried out regardless. I think I'm going to leave that there as the background. I'm going to now introduce our panelists. We're going to talk a little bit more about these issues, why we think this is the case right now in Bangladesh, and what we think we can do about it. I'll start all the way down at the end on my right. Ambassador Stephen Rapp, former Ambassador Stephen Rapp, is currently a Distinguished Fellow at the Center for Prevention of Genocide at the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum and at the Hague Institute for Global Justice. During the 2017 to 18 academic year, you can find him right here as the Dryden Visiting Professor of Human Rights at Georgetown Law. Look out for him, I'm sure. Of course, is amazing. While Ambassador at Large at the Office of Global Criminal Justice in the United States State Department from 2009 to 2015, he coordinated U.S. government support for international criminal tribunals, including the International Criminal Court, as well as hybrid and national courts responsible for prosecuting persons charged with genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. From January 2007 to 2009, Ambassador Rapp served as the chief prosecutor of the Special Court for Sierra Leone, responsible for the prosecution of former Liberian President Charles Taylor and others. And from 2001 to 2007, Ambassador Rapp was the senior trial attorney and chief of prosecutions at the ICTR, the Truth Court for Rwanda. Next to Ambassador Rapp is Almudena Bernabeu. Almudena is a co-founder and the head of Guernica 37 International Justice Chambers. She's a renowned international lawyer with a long career in fields of transitional justice, international criminal, and human rights law. She, for a long time, 15 years I think, was at the Center for Justice and Accountability out in San Francisco. She successfully litigated more than a dozen civil cases brought under the Alien Tort Statute, criminal cases in Europe, and other principle of universal jurisdiction cases. in places such in situations that involved Guatemala, El Salvador, Peru, Chile, Argentina, and Ecuador, among others. And then directly to my right is Toby Cadman. Toby's the other founder, co-founder, and head of Guernica 37, and also the co-founder of the International Forum for Democracy and Human Rights and the executive director of the TMC Advisory Group. He is an established international law specialist in the areas of international criminal and humanitarian law, international terrorism, anti-corruption, maritime security, extradition, and mutual legal assistance, and human rights law. It's a lot of expertise. He lectures extensively on international criminal law, criminal procedure, and human rights law, and has provided extensive advice and training to judges, lawyers, law enforcement agencies throughout the Balkans, Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia.